Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to my press conference. And in what was a pretty difficult week for some supercoaches, I came out relatively unscathed. And if we're referring to those golfing analogies, I probably shot a birdie. As you can see, I scored 2,129, which moved me up in the rankings a reasonable margin as well. What was I ranked for the round there? 18,000 odd. So, you know, that's pretty decent in the top 9%. Won 7 of my leagues, and look, you'll certainly take that. It was a much better performance and got what I would have rathered in other weeks, but we certainly got it on the weekend with room for improvement, mind you. But there was certainly a lot more positives to outweigh some negatives. Crossing over to my side here, and as you can see, I called the back line disgusting last week, and it lifted this weekend with some slight adjustments as well, mind you. Daniel Rich was impressive. Bartel was back to the footy I know he can play. I mean, he was fantastic, taking those overhead grabs, which is great. Birchall, I expect an 80 to 100 score from him every week. That's what he's in the side for. And I traded in Cade Simpson. If you've caught my recent videos and things like that, I was of course preaching Heath Shaw. The reason I didn't go for Heath Shaw was their respective break-evens were 61 and 122, so I knew Simpson was going to go up, and I thought worst case scenario Shaw would probably pump out a 130 or something and just marginally go up, but he did score 143. He goes up a little bit, but so did Marcus Adams. McDonald Tipping Woody went up 25 odd thousand, I think, something along those lines. So that back line was improved, but there's certainly improvement to come, and some of that will happen this week as well. Moving on to that midfield, again, we're probably lacking that big option, the big scorer, but Pendlebury, Ablett, Wines was serviceable. Shield led the way with 114 points. I like Petrarca's game as well. The ruck department was great. Gawn, 96, you take that after his 160. And Nick Nat pumped out a 145, which is great. In the forward line was decent. Wells was fantastic on the Friday night. Martin back to some of his best form with his second highest score of the year. Sammy Gray was serviceable. I of course hailed him, but you'd want a little bit more than that. But hopefully he's building, and Franklin and Hall, you know, they were okay. Hall struggled to score early but finished the game well, and as you can see, Corey Ellis on the bench, 95, disappointing. I opted to play Papley. Ellis scored 31 the previous week, and Mitch Brown 88. I of course opted to play McDonald Tipping Woody and Burn Jones and leave Adams on the bench, and didn't even consider Brown, and I think rightfully so. But from an overall team point of view, I'm quite happy, and I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel above all. As I've touched on in past videos, I have to accept and concede that my starting team was not that great, or at least not a team that started in good form. But I have built the pillars that can have you having a good side in round 11 or 12. So I'm building towards it. I'm also seeing a few premiums falling quite drastically, either due to a slight injury or a slight lapse in form. And I think, coupled with the likes of Kerridge, Mills, Adams, McDonald Tipping Woody, Burn Jones, as well as in the forward line, Alice, Papley, really having great break-evens. Even George Hewitt, to an extent, I think his break-even's about -10 or something, if I recall correctly. So it's starting to build, that's for sure. I'm starting to generate some real cash, and while these premiums fall and those guys make money, it's looking really good. And I brought in Jaden Hunt as well, which you can probably see is the other difference in my side. He scored 20, which was disappointing, and he's obviously going to be a chance to be dropped. That'll be disappointing, but it was out of him or Tim O'Brien, and neither are overly impressive. But I'm prepared to wear that on the fact that I'm seeing a lot of generation of cash in other places. And Brad Crouch will come back. He had 36 touches in the Sandful, and you would surely think he returns. So the big plus is going to be the money I'm making. That cash generation is huge. You look at it on the bench, I've got a stack of money. I was looking at all their break-evens, and basically all of them are under 20 that I'll have after next week. I think McDonald Tipping Woody will fall, and I think the obvious other one is Josh Smith. He's a bloke you're just going to have to get in as well. What did he score? I think he scored 72 and 96. So he's in the midfield. I won't be able to get stacks of cash from that trade down. Obviously, I think Davis will be on the outer there because his break-even's around the 40 mark. He just hasn't been that good. He's just struggling. He's returned 2 30s from his last couple of games, as well as missing a couple in between. He may keep his spot, but he's a bit of a dead weight at the moment. It's a slow grind. I don't have time to wait for him like I've waited for others in the mould of Papley and Hewitt. So I think he's got to go. They would be my early thought processes with the trade. I'm still lacking a Paddy Dangerfield or a Luke Parker sort of thing, and I guess the flow and effect of that is Gary Ablett probably hurt me a little bit with my captaincy choice. So, look, obviously if you can just rely on a Dangerfield or a Parker to really dominate, then, I probably lost 60 or 70 points to a few teams just off the back of the captaincy choice. But that's how it works. I mean, Ablett wasn't too bad, to be honest. His side just got absolutely hammered. So we'll probably look to bring in one of them as soon as possible. And I think Goldstein, of course, is another noteworthy point of discussion with the fact that I traded in Nick Nat instead of him, mainly just to get that extra bit of coin and then do the Simpson and Heath Shaw trades. And, well, it was going to be Robbie Gray, but it won't be now sort of thing. Just give me that extra 100,000. Gee, probably dodged a bullet there as well because Goldstein scored 49. Unbelievable. I was at that game and just could not believe. I mean, when you're at the game, you don't get a great understanding of how many tackles he's laid or how many hit-outs to his advantage he's really getting. But I thought, gee, not seeing much of him around the ground, and he even kicked the ball a couple of times along the deck. And, it wasn't his best game, but I did not think he would turn 49. So, unbelievable there, and you'd be spewing if you brought him in recent time for a Lobie or a Leuenberger or something like that, a Zach Smith maybe as well. But that's a look at my side. It's building. It's a little bit better. I know that midfield, I look at it and go, gee, I'm just lacking the real firepower there. But I will be attending to that in the coming weeks for sure, as I'm sure you will see. Now, if we move on to the SuperCoach League, sometimes you got to have a bit of luck. That's SuperCoach HQ, mind you. Get along to their website. Sometimes in footy you got to have a little bit of luck. I hadn't had a win so far. The best I'd managed, scrounged out, was a draw. But I managed to get the win here. I played Harms FC. No, I didn't. Hames FC. Struggling to read there. Coached by James. And as I say, I scored 2,129. So I thought I'd be a reasonable chance for victory. And I did just manage to get the win. I won by 21 points. But as I say, sometimes you need a little bit of luck. And he had Wiedering, who of course went off early, only scoring 23. He also had Robbie Gray and Brad Crouch benched, which meant Ryan Davis had to be fielded and returned 33 points. And of course him, like many others, had Todd Goldstein, which delivered 49 points. So you could mount a case for any of those guys just producing an extra 10 points on their score, and I would have lost. So I'll take that win. It's my first actual win. I move into 14th at 1 and 2 losses. So I think the real positive there, though, is that the fact I'm only the 1 win away from 6th. So that's impressive. But there's obviously quite a lot of difference in some of those top sides. There's a few players and sides getting away up the top there with really impressive percentages as well in the whole scheme of things, and producing some good scores. So you do have to get a little bit of luck sometimes, but I'll definitely take it. I needed a win pretty badly. As I said, I saw my thing and I thought, oh look, I've won 7 out of 9 leagues. Let's hope one of them is the SuperCoach HQ League. So good to get the job done there, and hopefully we can build upon that. I will touch on some of the Shorty SuperCoach leagues as well, because obviously I won't touch on these every week, but I thought it'd be good to just acknowledge some of the good scorers, and after we're a few rounds in now, I thought I'd acknowledge some of them. So in the first Shorty SuperCoach League, at the head-to-head, who have we got there? The Tiger Army is on top of the ladder with 4 wins there. At least the Tigers are doing well there, mate. Unfortunately, not so much in the AFL, and I'm struggling there. I think I'm down at 15th, and if we look at the total points, which is perhaps more important, but the Tiger Army is still doing extremely well there. He's a couple of 100 points clear, so Shane there travelling very nicely. As we move across to my second league, it's the Big D's on top. Also undefeated, the only undefeated side there. This is coached by Dion, and from memory I'm sort of middle of the table. 16th, so not good. Only had the one win of that league. And total points, I'm a bit better there, a few spots for sure. But Baggers is total points number 1. He's about 70 or 80 points clear of class on the grass. Whereas, of course, Baggers coached by Michael, so doing nicely done there. You're ranked in the top 5,000 to 6,000. It's pretty impressive. And if we go along to Shorty SuperCoach 3, I'm actually top of the ladder, which is interesting. 4-0. Joining me is Remember the Days by Lachlan. So that's interesting that I'm actually on top of the ladder, considering struggling in some of those other leagues. But probably a better reflection is on the total points, where I'm ranked 12th. So obviously I've had a little bit more luck in that league. But as I say, my side is building, and well done to all those guys. Give you a bit of a shout out there. Hopefully you're watching the video. As I say, I won't be giving these shout outs weekly, because it just sort of drags on the video when you're talking about 4 or 5 leagues or something like that. So, but I thought I'd mention them because I obviously have those leagues, and it'd be silly to just not talk about my own leagues at all. I'll touch on them every 4 to 7 weeks. Just really depends how it's all tracking along. But my side's building. I'm relatively happy with where it stands, but almost more so, I'm happy with how it can lead. I got the old pen and paper out in the last couple of days and just wrote a few things down, where I'm getting all the cash from, where I can downgrade to. Of course, Ben Keys is another one you might look to downgrade to soon as well. Mason Cox on the bubble. There's a lot of scope for improvement. There's definitely a lot of guys that if you can play your cards right, you could have an A-grade team very quickly, especially in that defence and midfield. We've got quite a few guys dropping, which I'll probably touch on as the weekend comes closer and it becomes more relevant. But I'm starting to see where my side should get to, and it's very possible. Of course, there's injuries and things like that, but fingers crossed. Let's hope it goes well. I can see my team really being extremely good in about round 8 or 9. Let's hope that becomes the case. But let me know how your side went. Of course, hold all trade questions until later in the week. I mean, you can talk about it, of course, and I'll give you a little bit of advice as always, but it's very hard to give concrete advice when the teams aren't out and things like that. So it's obviously just Monday at the moment. So easy, soldiers. We'll get to those trade options soon enough. But that's been my team. It's been impressive. Let me know how your side went on the weekend. I hope it went well. Give me your thoughts on the video and everything like that, how it's coming along. Just ticked over 300 subscribers as well, which I'm absolutely pumped about. Really happy about that, and it's coming along extremely well, which has been great. So of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because as you know, and are starting to get to know, I produce at least 2 videos a week. I'd like to think I offer plenty of good content, SuperCoach wise, and of course I get round to each and every question that comes through my emails. So be sure to tune in to a video later in the week, probably just a weekend preview unless the teams dish out something really pressing. But at the moment, probably just a weekend preview where we'll discuss everything you need to know for the weekend and your trade options and your SuperCoach side. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys soon.